Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to my moment, Showstopper Saturdays, where I will be talking to some of my favorite creatives in TV and film and some of yours. And for this Showstopper Saturdays, I am going to be highlighting famous French director Louis Leterrier, known for his work on Marvel's Incredible Hulk, Clash of the Titans, Emmy Award-winning children's program The Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance, and the French Netflix series that's causing all the rage, Lupin. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Lupin, I definitely encourage you guys to go and check it out. It is a French heist drama series on Netflix based on Maurice Leblanc's iconic French character, Arsène Lupin, which I can only imagine was a huge deal, not only for Louis Leterrier, but also for popular French actor Omar Sy. So I had the pleasure of working with Louis Leterrier as an assistant to an executive producer on an upcoming Netflix series, and was just blown away by his creative process and how he went about bringing the story from script to life, both off camera and on camera. And he was so gracious enough to join me for today's segment. So, hey, Louis, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm in Paris. It's late and it's freezing.
Oh, okay. Are you in Paris right now?
I'm in Paris right now. The late, don't worry about it. The freezing, you should worry about it.
I should worry about it.
It's very cold.
Yeah, I think that's the blessing about living in LA. I got to escape the cold. I actually moved to LA from New York, and that was just like one of the things that was super unbearable.
Like no more winters, I'm done.
Well, at least you get to be in beautiful Paris. That's super. Well, I mean, that's your hometown, so I don't know how exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of like, the
But,
Eiffel Tower again.
Yeah.
Another Eiffel Tower.
I know. See, that's
It's
like the opposite of my mood whenever I'm in Paris.
Yeah, no, it's a great city. It's just like the rest of the world. Very sad these days. We're not allowed to go out at
Yeah.
6. There's like the curfew at 6 p.m. and then it's just restaurants are closed, movies are closed, and half of Paris is tourists. Like Paris without tourists feels very strange.
Feels very strange.
We're left with all the angry Parisians. There's no the angry Parisians have to be angry with each other. We don't get any nice people coming to us, and you cannot buy that anyone.
Yeah. That's hilarious. But actually, when I was in Paris, I kind of got teased a lot for being American, which
cool.
I fully understand why. But definitely, as I mentioned over the phone to you, I have always had a slight obsession with Paris. So I was really excited when the series Lupin came out. I also know that, this series is based on the famous French adventure series Arsène Lupin. Am I pronouncing that right?
Arsène Lupin, yes. Arsène Lupin.
Arsène Lupin. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that for me. But so as a France native, what was that like for you to be asked to come and bring such a historical French character, and for you to bring the story to life? Was this something that you were excited about, or maybe felt even more pressure to deliver on as opposed to some of your other projects?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, every project I feel very a lot of pressure delivering, but this one particularly for two reasons. First of all, I'm French. I have shot a few movies in Paris, but I never shot anything in French. Everything I've shot from my first movie when I was 26, which was Transporter, then Unleashed, then Transporter 2. These 3 movies were shot in France. And actually, Now You See Me was shot in Paris. I never shot in French, and I've lived in the States for quite a bit now, so I was just afraid of having lost the the musical cadence so I didn't know if I would be able to direct an actor in French and and recognize who's a good actor and who's not, and so that pressure was high. The other pressure is like, Arsène Lupin is huge in France. It's the book that you read for fun, but also you read at school. It's kind of like
And I,
it's adventure and fun, and
yeah.
it's well written, so people study it at school because it's fun. It's like a good serial.
Yes, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
And I heard that it also had came about like as to be like kind of like a Sherlock Holmes competitor, during that
Yeah,
era.
no, very, very much so. That was the idea. It
Yeah.
was the editor of Maurice Leblanc, who's the author,
Mhm.
told him, come up with something that is Sherlock Holmes-esque in his thing. So much so that he actually wrote one of the books called Arsène Lupin versus Sherlock Holmes, but because he was threatened to be sued by the publisher of Sherlock Holmes, well, actually, Conan Doyle himself actually said, "I will sue you." The book is now called Arsène Lupin versus Sherlock Holmes. So he's like switched the thing. But so yeah, it was very much this, and it's just like he wrote the first book, really good first book, The Gentleman Thief, the first one, as an author, just like as a director, an author, a writer, you're like, write the sequel to this show or this that,
Mhm.
and it became this invention, and then he became wildly successful instantly, and he wrote other things, but he spent a lot of his life writing the Lupin books, Lupin serials for newspapers, and then some plays, like 7 plays featuring Arsène Lupin.
Mhm. So, but when this opportunity came across your desk, did you just like not even think twice about, the opportunity to direct it?
Yes, um, uh, because it came with one special element, and that one element is Omar Sy, my who is my friend, and I didn't grow up with him because really we're literally the other side of the tracks. Like when you say
Okay.
other side of the track, is literally, I'm like, it's funny because we're shooting the show in his neighborhoods and in my neighborhoods, and you can imagine which one was his and which one was mine.
Yeah.
And he was making fun of mine because he was this. And then, for example, when we went to prison,
Uh-huh.
that prison that actually was next to where he grew up, a lot of people knew him. But we grew up in the movie business together, and we've been friends for so long, and we're looking to do something uh, very special,
Yeah.
because both of us have had our share of success, and both of us left France for Los Angeles. And we're neighbors, literally, in Los Angeles, and we
Oh,
see
so
each
you
other
guys
all
are
the
really
time. But we're
tight.
like, we come back and everything, and we're like, it'd be nice to do something in France together, but
Mm.
let's make something really special. So they all called me, Omar included, Gaumont, Netflix. Well, it was Gaumont first, and Omar, and they said, we want to create something around Arsène Lupin. And Omar and I, we've had several projects over the years, and I was like, this is a really good idea. We should do that. But it took a long time to really find a good take. We didn't want him to just, sort of like become Arsène Lupin and put the top hat and the monocle and the cane and just, stride around Paris in the 1900s.
Yeah.
We wanted to do something that felt modern, yet had the themes of the book. And George Kay, who's the writer, an English writer who's written on that show Killing Eve, Killing Eve,
Yeah.
Phoebe Wallace, amazing show,
Mhm.
came in with a fantastic take of Lupin. The books are the method, and Lupin is the is just a method for him to find his way, and you'll see from the show, avenge horrific thing that happened to him.
Yes. Yes. So that's really interesting because I noticed that change. Like you guys definitely put like a modern day twist to it, and the original character, he wasn't a person of color, and so that's interesting. So Omar's side was already attached to the project.
Yep.
Did you guys already know you were going to cast him as the lead of the
Yeah,
project?
yeah, yeah. It was there was no other way. It was
Yeah.
like, but Omar has played various characters of, because he's very very famous in France. It's like, he's the Will Smith of France,
Yes.
and he's played like
Mhm.
uh, a very famous character called Knock Knock, like it's pronounced Knock, but it's as it's written Knock in English with Knock. He's a doctor, and it's like the house of France, and it was like turn of the century, and he played it this way and everything, and there was somewhat of an anachronism because obviously France, like so many countries, was not open-minded in the 1900s, and there would have been no doctor of color around that time and everything, so they got quite a lot of flack. And on this one, we're like, and people will be people, and it's still there no matter what. When we announced that he would be, we were doing a show with Arsène Lupin, people are like, well, Arsène Lupin is, it's like, of course, okay, okay.
Really? Was that the
Not,
reaction in France
oh
or?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
Racism is international.
Yeah, I
Unfortunately,
know.
racism
Trust me,
is
I know.
everywhere. Racism is everywhere. No, but
I
really,
know.
so we get
That's
lots of flack. We're like,
that was the
no,
reason
but
there as well. Yeah.
we were like, okay, enough. Who cares about these people? We know what we're doing, but we were like, that's more interesting to treat it as as a modern story, because it just because one thing that was important for me
Mm,
was the theme of invisibility, but
mm,
not invisible. Like, I thought we could build a layer with him being himself, and with the color of his skin, and how using racism as his weapon,
yes,
and not as, it's not like he uses people's perception of him as the weapon. So the several degrees of racism, or fear, or xenophobia and fear of the other, he uses it. Doesn't have to be full on racism, but it can be like, oh, I don't understand this person, or I don't see this person because they're the cleaner, and he's the black cleaner, like he doesn't see, so you don't pay attention to the guy. But when he comes in, he puts on a purple three-piece suit, you're like, oh, who's that enigmatic
yes,
guy? He must be a prince or this or that, so the idea was interesting for Omar and I to use the color of his skin as his weapon,
that's
and
what
not put
exactly.
on mask and put on this and put on that. We were
Yes,
like, okay, that's it. That's interesting because that's modern. That actually hits where it hurts on the head, but
yes,
it treats it in a very subtle way. It's obviously a show about social difference and race difference and everything, but it's not done in a ham-fisted way.
I absolutely 100% agree, and I think that that's definitely one of the things that made it that much more intriguing for me, because like you
Yeah.
said, it was pretty awesome to see him use racism as one of his strongest weapons. But I like how you guys, very subtly, like you said, but even though it was subtle, still very effectively touch on the issues of racism and classism, honestly, like, going back to
It's
what the main character's father's job was, you know what I mean? And how that kind of led, without giving too much away of the story, but that kind of led to, you know, the father's death. So very, very, very clever. And I think you guys really hit it on the head, obviously, because according to Netflix, you guys had over 70 million viewers, making it as popular as The Queen's Gambit and Bridgerton. So how did that feel for you and even Omar?
for a while. I mean, we were hoping, you always do the best when you do a show, or but you can never guess if it's going to meet its audience. I mean, you really hope for it, but you don't know if it's going to do how it's going to do. And also because he was shot in Paris with Omar, who is very well known in France and in Germany, in a few countries. He's he's like he's known, but he's not a major star around the world.
Mhm.
And so we're like this, and it's in French. We're like, okay, well, it's we might do some a good score in France, but the, the rest of the world will be nominal, like it's just like 1 2 3% here there, everything maybe on the first week, and then it disappears. But that was not the goal. Again, Omar and I were coming back to France to do a French show in France, for our friends and our families and our fans, and that was the idea. And about international themes, but very very French themes. Again, like
Yep.
it's French society has become, when it was open-minded, a decade ago. I remember, like a couple of decades ago, I was like in the street with for a thing called Touche pas mon pote, which was like fight against racism and all that stuff. It feels like society has closed itself again on and become very angry. So we're like, okay, let's just show them. It's just like make a piece of entertainment that actually talks about that theme.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we were like doing this thing, and then the first show is completed. We're happy with it, and then we move on. You and I were working on a show together, and
Yes.
then I was doing this, and I was like, yeah, I was doing promotion, but I was like this, and then it hit, and then it dropped, and the numbers were so massive that
Massive.
first weekend. So massive that first weekend. We
Mhm.
got a sense that it was quite big because that first weekend, I saw it climbing. I was in LA, and I saw it climbing the chart, on Netflix, like number two, number seven, number three, number two, number one, back to number two. I was like, wow, I've never. Well, none of my shows have done that. None of my movies have done that on Netflix. But definitely, nothing in French has done that.
Mm.
And then spoke to Netflix, and I got the numbers for that weekend, and they were massive. And they projected those numbers. Week later, and they said, yeah, it would be more than 70. Well, it would be 70, and Omar and I were like, again, because we're friends, we're like calling each other every day, like not even talking, just like
Yeah.
laughing and screaming. I mean, just right before I spoke to you, I spoke to him again. Like, he called me again. He's like, well, did you see the numbers? Because the numbers, Maisha, are much more than 70.
Yes.
Much more than
I
70.
mean, I imagine.
We got the real numbers, and it's crazy. So basically,
Wow.
Lupin is the second biggest show of all time on Netflix,
Wow.
which is like crazy, because it's kind of like, it's atypical. And it's just, we tried to do something that just felt, that was not a product. It was just like something we really cared about. So
And way to prove all of those doubters and the naysayers and the haters wrong.
it's the thing. It's like, it was a show. It was a show that brought love. It's family entertainment. It was
Mhm.
very important for Omar and myself. We have kids, and we love watching stuff with our kids, especially these days when people are stuck at home. You want to
Yeah.
share things together, and it was important for us to do something like this. And I think when early on, it's lessons are best taught in an entertaining way. So I think there's a lesson about, like you say, classism, about xenophobia and racism, and I think it was important to sort of like subtly treat it, and show our kids that
Yeah.
things there's good things and there's bad things happening in life, and you can right the wrongs, and do all that stuff. So we did that, but to have this enormous of a success, I mean, I don't, no one knew, and who didn't know? Netflix didn't know. Like, they
Definitely.
were like so surprised. They
I'm
were
sure
so
they
surprised.
did it. I'm sure they did it because,
But they loved us. They loved the show and everything. But they were like, they would have, it's like they were like, it was
yeah.
very, very different.
That's very interesting. And so, I think it's safe to say, like, as amazing as chapter one was, or part one, a lot of viewers were left on edge with the part two cliffhanger. Um, I think a lot of people were upset about it, including myself, because I was like, oh, it was just getting so good. So I think that was very, very clever. And I wonder if Netflix, knew how big of an impact it was gonna have if they would have released it that the same way. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's a there's one thing that's interesting also is that we're realizing with 5 episodes, 5 shortish episodes, 45-minute episodes,
Mhm.
that people, where, well, actually, no one knew it was 5 episodes, but at least, they could consume it and they could watch the whole thing over a night or maybe two. That's pretty much, we got the rate of completion. And it's really fast for our show, but it's really fast for our show again because it's a half season, and you get teased and you get excited and you see that, and then and then we pull the rug from under your feet, and then you're left pending,
Mhm.
and then we'll bring it back
Yeah,
whenever 6 months and everything. But I think it's quite nice because instead of like waiting a year, having a full completion and waiting a year, you just can do, you
this is
know,
true. This is true.
first
And I
part,
think
second part, anything. Yeah.
yeah, that was the good news about it all. It's like we'll have it before the end of I think they said the summer of this
Yeah,
year. So
summer. Yeah, yeah.
so did you direct any episodes for part two?
No, part two. No, I was back in America. I was supposed to do a movie, and then COVID hit,
And then
and it was the problem. So part one and part two was also we had this idea in the beginning, but it was very much reinforced with what happened with the pandemic,
the pandemic.
and we were like, okay, well, we have shot most of that stuff.
Mhm.
Let's just post it, edit it, finalize it, put music and sound, and then release it.
Yeah,
And then, well, get it all ready and then start shooting the rest afterwards. For two reasons, it was interesting because then we could, with the shows I directed, it was informing the style and pace and in a sense, sort of like efficiency of the storytelling. Like you don't need to do A, B, C, D. You can just jump around and
right.
then re-explain, and sort of like, not that every show has the same architecture as my 2 or 3 shows,
Mhm.
but I mean episodes. But I think it was interesting to finish it this way, and then pandemic hit. So I was back in the States, and I was prepping something, and then it stopped. Like everyone, it stopped. I was supposed to do a movie I was contracted to do, and it just stopped. And then I was not going to. We hired other directors. I was not come back and say, "Oh, guys, I left."
Yeah,
I can come back now. So I let them finish part
finished with the
two
other director.
without me. But I was like in constant,
Communication.
conversation, well, in communication, and sort of like, I was looking at their dailies, and sort of like, it was always kind of like interesting to get to yeah, because I'd started the thing. I was like a little bit in advance, because normally on a show you never finish an episode before you finish the whole thing. Maybe you have like a rough cut, and then you get to the end, and then you sort of like see what's working, but you already shot most of the show here. Because we knew what was going on in the beginning, I could see their stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, it's good that you're doing this, but I don't think you need to do all those shots, or you're missing some close-ups. Look at those inserts. I think inserts are very important to tell the story, so you need more, and stuff like that. It was just easy.
Got you, got you. So, do you think with the revelation of just how successful Lupin became, um, do you kind of see this being an ongoing series?
Yes, me personally, I see it being, the greatest thing ever. No,
Yeah,
no, I mean, it's the one thing that it's pretty cheap to make Lupin, at least for a season. They were like a
really. I was
million. Yeah, they're like a million and maybe $2 million an episode, which
really
is like
okay.
nothing. It's like,
Right, I mean, yeah,
well,
especially.
in TV in America, it's like, big ones, they're like 6, 7, you can go up to $20 million an episode.
Oh
But
yeah,
here we're really, sort of like efficient in our way of, in our way of treating the stuff. So hopefully that encourages Netflix to say, yeah, we can do a second season.
yeah. And
when
that's
they were
so
saying,
interesting. I guess I thought it would have been way more. I mean, just, knowing what we experienced working on our last show and then seeing you guys shoot in the Louvre, which, I'm sure you guys were there for a couple of days, if not weeks, for that scene, right? Or no?
we were there for the whole scene was one night.
One night.
Yeah,
Wow.
I
Okay.
shoot fast. Remember, Maisha? I shoot
Yeah,
very
you do.
fast.
You do shoot fast. You do shoot fast, but I just thought it would have been so much more expensive.
Well, there's like, all the interior stuff and all the drone stuff. So there's few things happening, but like the actual the actual part inside the main area of the Louvre, that was one night, and then all the running around and the car chase and the car stuff, that was another night.
Wow.
But the yeah, it's one night in the Louvre, and then you sort of like piecemeal it with other places. Pretty much.
Brava, brava, my friend.
Thank you, thank you,
See,
thank you.
I mean, it's obvious why you're such a gem to Netflix.
No, no, no,
Very
no, no, no,
obvious.
no, 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 no. But it's like it's funny. It's the experience. I've learned my craft in France, and you don't have. It's funny, when we did our show, I was like, I was telling, James, our friend and producer, he was
Yeah,
like, I was like, no, there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of people and a lot of stuff. Like in France, I just get one thing, and I'm lucky if I get it. Like I get like one day of drone, and I better get everything going that day. So
yeah,
so it's amazing. I mean, both systems are great. And listen, I'm in America because I love toys, and you guys give
yeah.
me all the toys.
Give you all the toys,
You give me all the
all the
toys. So
resources to
no,
play.
no, it's great. It's great, but it's actually really good when you've done. When I was on Hulk, I had all the toys. On Clash of Titans, I had all the toys and everything.
Yeah.
But to come back and do something, especially with a schedule like a TV schedule,
Hmm.
you have to work on instinct. You have to go, like, you have to be really specific, and stuff doesn't work, and then you have to sort of like twist it and this and that, and it's like one shot is out of focus. Oh crap, we realize this, and then you sort of like change your shit, rewrite your whole shot list, and the way you want to open the show and stuff like that. That happened to us, for example, on the stuff we did together. So, and I sort of like improvise on the go. But it's always good to have the flexibility to come back
Hmm.
and go up and down
Okay.
with different things. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that definitely speaks to your skills, your skill level as a director. I mean, you know how to work around not having as many resources, and then that just makes you all the better when you do have a lot of resources. So with that being said, what is what is some advice that you might have for somebody who is an aspiring director?
Well, it depends at what level. So if somebody is just starting, who's never shown that, and yes, actually, it's pretty easy. Shoot, take your phones, take your this, shoot a lot, like telling a story, learning to tell a story, edit the stuff that you shoot, put music on, show it to friends and family, show it to people that will give you constructive criticism, and then you'll learn from that, and compare your stuff that you shot on your phone with stuff that you watch in movies when they reopen on TV or stuff like that, and be like, okay, I know, I get it. Like, oh, like crossing the line and not crossing the line, just the power of the long lens and the wide lens, and coming closer or wide, moving the camera or not moving the camera, putting music there, not putting music there. These are all things. These are all storytelling tools, and you affect emotion and pace and focus and all that stuff based on that. So that's number one. It's like, whether, like, I started shooting movies when I was 8, and it was like more difficult when I was young because there was not a lot of, it was like Super 8, and it was the beginning of VHSCs and stuff like that. It was like we didn't have like digital tools, and it was much later that digital tools came about on 47. So
Mhm,
uh, so but I kept, every weekend I was shooting,
mhm.
so that's number one. Number two is, once you get a job in the movie industry, and at every level that you go, just learn, watch, listen, hear. Like, don't ask too many questions. I think if you ask a question, it's fine. You can ask a question, but don't ask too many questions because that's annoying. People are here to do their job and not teach
Yeah.
you. But like, watch and learn. You don't need to watch. You can read a lot of books and know who's doing what, and then but if you're smart, and you are, because if you're on the movies, that is because you made it there, and it's because you're smart. You will figure out who does what, and what works, what doesn't, what gets a crew clicking, an actor giving a great performance or not giving a good performance, like what's the thing, or how does a director react when there's a storm is building above you, and you have like five, and all the sun is setting on you, and all the kids are, we're running out of time on the kids, like you and I experience. It's all that stuff, like how does a director deal with that stuff and the rush of pressure and everything. So there's that. So watch, learn, befriend, but be a fly on the wall. The more invisible, Arsène Lupin style, you are on a movie set, the better it is, because you'll be able to approach even the core of the team, without being seen or heard, or like you can be a fly on the wall and witness absolutely amazing things. And the second thing I'd say about this period of your life is
Mhm.
that give your best. Like, I was a PA. I went from On one movie, I went from PA to post to onset, video guy, to editor, to post-production supervisor. That was on an alien movie, that because I was very willing, and when I was a PA, I was giving my best. I was really giving. I was like bringing the director the best sandwich, or the best cup of water at the best temperature that he liked it, etc., etc. And I've done that for quite a while. And my days were going fast because I was so happy with what I was doing. I was so happy with what I was witnessing, and I was learning a lot. So if you give your best, and if you don't say, "Ah, I've done 4 years of film school, and now I'm outside a movie studio, locking the door, baking in the sun," which happened to me, waiting for, and telling people to stop working outside when they're shooting inside when the red is on, and you're like, I'm actually, uh, on the 20th Century Fox lot,
Mhm.
and they're shooting an alien movie inside, and I'm here, and I'm so excited. And
Mhm.
then one day somebody was like, "You're always in a good mood." I was like, "Yeah." I told them, they're like, "Come inside," and then I was welcomed inside. And then they were like, "Oh yeah, you know how to do it." Then they brought me inside. Like, having a positive attitude,
Mm.
for a French person, is very tough. But having a positive attitude, but it is actually is going to pay pay itself forward, because you'll be like, I like this person, I like this Maisha, she's very nice. I like Louis, he's very nice, he's positive, he's this, she's positive, she's a go-getter, she does this, she does that. Even if you don't know the stuff, they're like, yeah, she's smart, she's
Right.
positive. I can just tell her, do this next time, do this differently, and then she'll remember, and that's that. No one
Yeah.
will judge you for not knowing something. People will judge you for not having the right attitude.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, Louis. Well, thank you so much for dropping those gems today. I'm sure
Yo.
the audience dropping those gems today. I'm sure the audience will definitely appreciate it, and I really appreciate you once again for just always making yourself available, being cool enough for me to even just shoot you a text. I really, really appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. So thank
Sure.
you.
Anytime. Thanks, Maisha.
Thank you. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.